Alrighty then, hello and welcome to AUSF1 Tier 2. We're here for round 6 at Circuit of the Americas, and we have 14 cars out on the grid. We're a little bit late here for qualifying due to some technical difficulties, but I'm Lindsay Model here in the commentary box, and alongside me is a very special guest, a person who I think he turns up about once per year, says hello, does his job very well, and then says goodbye. All I know is his name is J-Man. How are you, mate?
Good evening, Lindsay. I am very well, and I am looking forward to what I'm sure is going to be a thrilling race at one of my favourite tracks. So, yeah, really can't wait to get this underway. I think special guest is a bit of a high honour. I am just a commentator, so
I think showing up
you
once
know.
per year equals special guest.
I think once per year is also a bit of an exaggeration.
Yeah, but it's also
But
close enough that it's not lying. I
yeah,
mean,
anyway, thanks thanks to the huge audience that's tuning in tonight. It's great to have you. If people actually were aware that we were commentating, I'm sure we'd have a really big crowd in tonight.
yeah, I mean,
I'm sure they'll filter in as the night goes on.
yep, absolutely sure of it. As no worries, ads as he comes into the chat and says thank you. So there is a viewer base there for you, J-Man.
Oh, fantastic!
So just as you were talking about it, but yeah, no,
If anything, yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but if anything, we just provide some good information for the drivers out there who might be listening while driving.
Yeah, I'll just make sure not to hit the T button and put telemetry up. Can't give the drivers what they want. No, but I think that when was the last time we commentated? That's what I'm trying to figure out here. It was OFI, I think, at some point, at some point in time.
Yes, yep. Because I subbed in last minute.
Yeah, Silverstone.
I reckon.
Silverstone.
Yep, that's
round 2, round 3, one of them.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
Yeah, that was actually a good race because I wasn't meant to be there either, I don't think. And then we both, well, I got called up and then I was going to be doing it myself. And then I sent you an Instagram message and you've kind of gone, oh, no, I'm not available. And then randomly joined the race. And I've gone, oh, actually,
Yep.
I'm here. So, yeah, that'd be it. So it's been a while. But
yep.
I think as you pointed out on that night, every single time we commentate together, I say it's been a while.
That is true, and you've done it again.
Yeah. So
here we are.
Traditions.
Yeah, but just to focus on some driving, because that is what we're here for tonight at the end of the day.
Yeah.
There's a few lap times slowly coming in as we look around this track. Very tricky, very technical. Not great for racing most of the time, but actually, sometimes it's all right. But yeah, a lot of drivers don't really like this track, myself included. But it does provide some great entertainment at the end of the day. So should see some interesting stuff. And I'm just going to have a look at the leaderboard here, or the standings, because that'll provide some context to what we're seeing tonight. Scotty leading the championship at the moment, and that's not a surprise at all. He's a very, very good driver. 3 wins on the season so far. And Nigel, who is racing tonight in the Kick Sauber, and then Parzival. That's the top 3. They're kind of the runaway top 3 at the moment, Lindsay. So I'm not sure if you've been keeping too much up to date with the Tier 2, but what do you make of what we're seeing so far?
Well, I think what you just read out to me isn't surprising. I think they're just mainly the most consistent competitors out there. I haven't been following it myself, but I am friends with more than a few people on this Tier 2 grid, or at least sharing a Discord server with a few of them and talk to them frequently. So Scotty being one of those people, Slammer as well, I talk to. So I get a gauge of how everybody's going, but until you've read it out, I wasn't sure, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yep. And so we're about halfway into this session so far, and Zuquazoo in the McLaren is just got a very slim lead over Parzival in that position at the moment, but a lot of drivers are still out there setting their first laps, and that includes the championship leader of Scotty, who looks to be having a crack here in his Aston Martin. And now down the long back straight, burns the battery, and the DRS is open. So let's see what he can do in this final sector, if he can really hook it up, get a solid banker lap in. 132.7 is the target. Downhill, tricky corner to nail, but he's done pretty well there, just stayed inside the track limits, and now sweeping back to the right. And this is a really nice section if you can get it right. And he looks to have got it pretty nicely so far, and now just flat out around here. The triple right-hander, I think that's just about what it is. And then quickly back to the left, and then final corner. Let's see what Scotty can produce here. A lot of places on the track you can get caught out. Scotty's done pretty well there though, 133.0, and puts him in P4 for now. But yeah, as I mentioned, there's a lot of places on this track where you can cost yourself a lap. So to get a good one in it actually requires a lot of concentration, because it's not a short lap either by any means.
Yeah, it's a really difficult track, which is why it's a love-hate relationship, I think, out there with this circuit. I hate it because I lack talent. And I think that a lot of people hate it because they lack talent. But then, you know, you've got the likes of, say, some of your bigger Tier 1 guns of like Gregory Prisball, Oscar King, Campbell Adams. They all love this circuit. So I think that if you're good at it, you really like it. As well, Zuka Zoo was on a push lap, 200s up, and he spun round through the S's while trying to improve over his pole lap. But yeah, I think it's a love-hate relationship with this circuit between everybody, because it really all depends on how good you are at it. It's not like a Silverstone where even if you're bad at it, sometimes you can still like it. I think it's very dependent on how you get around it. As I will say as well, just speaking to the trickiness of the circuit, the championship leader Scotty on that lap that we were watching, just as I've gone on board with him on the broadcast, he had a huge moment through the first sector. So I think that was probably a 2 or 3 tenths loss, which would have been the difference between him probably being where he is now in 5th position and comfortably being inside the top 3.
Yep, yeah, 100%. And I'm currently having a look at Parsifal, who's got a beautiful pink and white V-carb livery on here as he flies down to turn 12. And looking pretty solid here. He just needs a very slight improvement to provisionally get himself into first position here. Yeah, he's already qualified very well so far, but he'll be looking to push a little bit more. And the field is relatively tight, and as I've just noticed, Slammer, Nigel, and Scotty separated by 2,000ths or 2,000ths of a second, which is unbelievable, to be honest, as Parsifal rounds the final corner. Very close midfield here. Comes to the line and improves by 2.5 tenths. And that's a 132.5, and Parsifal really setting the tone early on here in qualifying as we head towards the final stages now.
Yep, so 6.5 minutes to go, and that is then the benchmark to chase for anybody out on the circuit at the moment, or heading into the final runs if he's able to retain that position. I'm currently looking at Nigel in the Sauber as he makes his way around the circuit. He's about a 10th up. That would put him ahead of Slammer and A-Dog in 4th. I know it says Flint, but it is A-Dog, if you do know his PlayStation username, in 4th position. So that'll move him up a few places if he can continue on in this improvement as he heads in towards the final corner now. So what is the lap time going to be here for the Sauber driver as he heads out of the final corner? He goes to 3rd place with a 32.776. So he's knocking on the door of Zuka Zoo, and he is right there, only 2 tenths away from Parsifal as well. So it's really heating up as we go further into this one. I think Scotty's about to improve as well.
Yeah, Scotty is up into P2 and just gets ahead of Zukwazoo there. And this is a really tight field in terms of qualifying time so far. The top 8 only separated by about 6 tenths. So even though it's a bit of a smaller grid tonight, I feel like we are going to see a very tight and some very hard racing tonight, which is always good. To have a very competitive field going at it, and a lot of drivers now starting to filter into the pits so they can load up for that final run. And it's interesting. Is Scotty on a lap here potentially? I don't think so. Yeah, no, it doesn't look like it. But yeah, so just a little bit of a break in the action for now. and Scotty will be hoping to get his 4th win of the season tonight and extend that championship lead with Parsifal and Nigel right around there as well. So, as you mentioned, consistency very good from these guys and consistently at the front of the field, because points will be critical in this mid-stage of the season here in AUSF1. And Parsifal seems like he's pushing hard tonight.
Yeah, and I think you can really see that in this qualifying session. I think we'll see potentially some invalidations in the final run from people really trying to force that last percent of lap time that they can achieve out of their lap time to try and get pole position. But J-Man, you and I are people of many a championship battles, and you've come out on top on more than on one occasion against me. And, you know, Scotty happens to be in an Aston Martin, so put yourself in Scotty's shoes here, J-Man. What did you do when you were trying to control that championship all those years ago?
Well, it's pretty
having
simple.
Dex take me out.
It's pretty simple. It's like I'm not sure if you've definitely seen Cars 2, when Francesco is getting interviewed about what his strategy is.
Oh, wait for McQueen to joke.
And he's like, he needs no strategy, and basically just waiting for you to mess up, which happened at one point in every single race in that season. And pretty much I was just sitting behind, waiting for my moment, and got the job done in the end. And look, 100% championship battle win rate speaks for itself. So Scotty, also a very successful driver if we relate that to the current situation. And yeah, doing very well. And if he gets a win tonight, it's going to make it very tricky for drivers behind to catch, because momentum is everything as well, as we know.
Yep, and I know that in all of the wrong ways when it comes to my championship fight win percentage, because I proceeded to lose the Season 1 championship fight, not because of Dex, I promise, and then I proceeded to lose the Season 2 championship fight out of pure lack of talent compared to MX and Skits, and then I proceeded to lose the Season 3 championship fight because I crashed the car too many times. So you're definitely the person to ask. And there is the insight of a former league racing champion here in this region. And that is our time filler completed. Outlaps are now underway, J-Man, and this is now time for the final run. So the ante has been turned up, and I think that Zuka Zoo is already on his last flying lap.
Yep, and going through at the moment. So in P3, 2/10 is what he requires to chase down Parsifal, and this is an important lap here in the session. And it will be his last chance to get it done. Round 10, 11 looks pretty good. And now the sun blaring in the visor as the DRS opens up for the McLaren, and already has burnt a lot of battery on this lap. I'm allowed to talk about battery, it's qualifying. So downhill into turn 12 and look to go a bit narrow there. He's pulled out of this one actually, which... yeah, he's going to have to charge up that battery very quickly. He doesn't have a lot of time left in the lap to get that filled up. But in the meantime, Hunter is also on a lap coming down towards turn 12 as well. A bit of traffic in front, which he's going to have to navigate through the Ferrari. But would have gotten a little bit of a slipstream there from the Sauber, and is up almost 5/10. And that is definitely going to be good enough to put him at the front of the grid provisionally, if he can hold it together for the rest of this lap. And now coming through... the cars do move out of his way. It takes a very tight line through there. And Zukazu is actually retired, so obviously wasn't going to improve on that lap. And turns hard in to turn 19, and now to the 20th and final turn. Gets it turned in pretty well. DRS open to the line, and it's good enough for now. It's 2/10 clear of all comers. And is that going to be good enough? Parsifal and Scotty will have to answer very quickly here.
Yeah, so Parsifal on his final flying run now as we go on board with the V-Carb driver. He's 500ths up, but he needs to find a significant amount more than that here in this final section of qualifying. Scotty not far behind him on the road either. These are the two main contenders. You can't count Nigel out either, or even potentially A-Dog. He's not too far away, only 6/10 behind in that regard. And with a lap like Cota, that is definitely able to be made up as Parzival heading down towards turn 12. So through Sector 1, it was up by a few hundredths. What about Sector 2 as he heads through turn 12? Tags the Apex Power out of the corner now. What's his sector split as he heads into this next right-hander? It's nearly 0.3 of a second, so it is currently enough to put himself back on top of the leaderboard as he heads through this twisty technical final sector. All he's got to do is hold the car in a straight line, keep the car in check, keep it in balance, and it could be provisional pole position here in this pink V-Carb livery as he makes his way through the penultimate corner. Now, the final corner, the only challenge left to tackle in this qualifying session here for Parzival. Rounding the final corner, power out of the final corner. It is provisional pole position, but what does Scotty have in response? A 32-2-2-0 to beat Scotty out of the final corner. Can he improve? Can he go to the front row or even the top of the grid? It is to the second row ahead of Slammer, who just improved, but it is not enough to beat Hunter or beat Parzival. It is a 1 minute 32.418. So Parzival is going to be your pole sitter with a 1 minute 32.220.
That's clutch right at the end from Parzival. We know how hard it is to put a lap together under pressure, and Parzival has done an excellent job there. And that is a very big pole position in the context of this season as well. Parzival will be looking to pile the pressure on Scotty here, who is down in P3, not where he want to be. Did improve on that last run, but it just wasn't quite enough. And yeah, Parzival will be very happy with that pole, and now he's just got to try and convert it into a win. But it's going to be a very tough battle here. We know all these drivers very close behind, especially this top 6 drivers. They've all been very competitive throughout this qualifying session. So I'm pumped to see what's going to happen here in the race.
Yeah, this is going to be really exciting. The gap's so small, and yeah, DRS into that as well, which we luckily still have here on the F1 game, unlike real life, and it should be quite an entertaining race. And yeah, I think that there's going to be some split strategies as well to get into as well.
Yeah, yeah, I can't wait for the next F1 game. Like, we could have some boost and some overtake mode and
some 250 k's an hour down a straight.
Yeah, they're going to make it realistic because that would be the worst game ever.
We're going to be going 400 k's an hour, like all the Assetto Corsa mods thought we were going to be doing.
Yeah, well, Jetman and Levo have presumably got qualifying bans or haven't participated in this session, so I think they've both got a bit of pace as well. So potentially some flyers coming up the field to spice things up later on in the race, which will add another element to what we see here tonight.
Yeah, it definitely will. And now here is the famous question, J-Man. If you had to make one prediction, who do you think is going to take the race victory here tonight?
That's a great question, and I've got a good feeling about Parzival tonight. I feel like he's really switched on. I think this championship fight needs to be tightened up a little bit, and I think Parzival is gonna stand up under the pressure and hopefully convert that pole into a win and really put the challenge to Scotty here.
All right, and I'm gonna play the devil's advocate here. I think that Scotty's more than capable of taking this race win here tonight, J-Man.
I 100% agree that he is capable. He's got, as we mentioned, got 3 wins. Parzival yet to get a win, but has 2 second places. So is right around the mark, and it's going to be very interesting as the lights now come on for round 6 of AUSF1 Tier 2, and we are underway, and it's a great start from Parzival and Hunter. But Parzival just inching ahead going into turn 1. Scotty safe in P3 here. Down the inside, Hunter spins into the first turn and crashes in to a couple cars behind. That's the perfect start for Parzival. And I'm not sure who, I think it was Nigel who's gotten caught up in that all the way down to P9. A shocking start for Hunter, who is on the front row and now finds himself right at the back of the field as Parzival hangs onto that lead. But now he's got Scotty right behind him. So not exactly the start that Parzival would have wanted. Scotty very lucky to escape around the outside of Hunter there. And wow, absolute fireworks as Nigel continues to struggle here as he's picked up some pretty bad damage, and he's going to fall all the way back down the pack as well. And there's a bit of wheel-to-wheel battling between both the Haas drivers of Jetman and Tetris, as Jetman is now up in a 9th after starting 13th. But that's a very chaotic couple of turns as Zukazu now having a look on Slammer down the inside into P3. Just a bit too far back there on lap 1. In the meantime, T. Salmons is trying to go down the inside of Levo, and Levo just hangs on around the outside there. Nicely done by the Williams, so he's come up from last into P7 as well. So a great start from the two drivers at the back of the field, really putting some pressure on. But Parzival and Scotty already flying away from the rest of this field, and there's a yellow flag towards the back as well, and that's Jetman who's gone around. Jetman in the Haas. It was a great start for him, and all of a sudden, he's back to the back of the field. What a chaotic opening lap that was, Lindsay.
Yeah, it was. So Parzival still leading it away, but you probably heard more than a few screams over that lap. So basically, Levo nearly had a huge accident earlier on in the lap during the first sector, and then that second spin was the Jetman spin, and he went down the inside, and that slow left-hander in the final sector, and yeah, just got collected. And spun off to the side of the circuit. Just, I think, through a little bit of lag there, to be honest, because there was some ghosting involved as well. Zukazu has a missing front right end plate, so that is not going to be helping him here at Circuit of the Americas. Take it from someone who had a missing end plate for more than 90% of last night's Tier 1 race, which was a bit of a disaster class, and yeah, it's not fun to have damage here around this circuit. But Nigel looking to make a move here on Hunter. Both of these two drivers severely had a poor start, but they're both rumbling around the circuit, and Hunter cops a tap from the rear there, actually, from the Sauber as they now head onto the straight, and Hunter's looking to make a move on F1 Original Paulie as Zukazu goes down the inside of Slammer, heading into turn 12, gets that move done on the Alpine driver. Meanwhile, the Sauber now gets past Original Paulie as well into turn 12, so multiple movers and shakers here so far in this one. I think that the Williams behind them of, I'm going to call him Harry, in 13th, is looking to close up to Paulie as well, but he's dropping back just a little bit. But Scotty, 4 tenths behind Parzival now. This is heating up, J-Man.
Yeah, exactly. This is the battle we expected to see this evening. Parzival is going to have some pressure on Scotty. A proven race winner is going to be breathing down his neck all night long, and Parzival has just got to try and hold his nerve, keep his pace, as Scotty really puts the pressure on with the DRS open into turn 1, about 4 tenths back at this stage. Zukazu has actually been catching these front two a little bit, even without that front end plate. So some impressive stuff from him, and then Slammer now falling back into the arms of A-Dog and Luke behind, who are putting a bit of pressure on. So as we are now on lap 3, Parzival just making his way through the middle sector here, and we're about to head onto the long back straight, where Scotty is going to get an early opportunity to pass, and we're really going to see some racing strategy unfold here. Is Scotty going to want to make the early move, or is he going to bide his time here? And it looks like Parzival's gotten a great exit out of turn 11 there, which is going to put some pressure on Scotty, and I just think he's going to be too far back to really make a move here, and stays behind for now. But interestingly, everyone in the field on medium tyres besides Paulie down in 12th, who has gone for the hards. We'll see if that strategy works out for him, but I think the mediums will be the optimal one tonight, unless there's a safety car interruption. As in the meantime, A-Dog getting passed by Luke there in the Aston Martin. So another Aston Martin moving up the field, and Luke up into P5. Very solid from him, and now he's going to try and chase after Slammer, who's slowly falling off the front 3 pack at the moment.
Yeah, he is slowly falling away, and Scotty and Parzival are falling into the clutches of Zukazu. But yeah, I think a big portion of this race is going to be tyre saving, JMN, because the tyre wear is so astronomically high here. I mean, I know after only 8 laps at Cota yesterday, I mean, I'm terrible at preserving my tyres because I don't really drive the game. I just kind of drive, understeer, lock up, whatever, just bully the tyres. But I had really high tyre wear, about 50% after only 8 laps. So you're looking at a situation where the tyres will really just cook themselves here in the sun in Texas, and they just won't survive. So we're going to see a pit stop probably lap 8 to lap 12 if there is no safety car interruption onto the hard compound tyres, but still, you've got to save.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm keeping an eye on this battle at the back here between Paulie, Harry, and Jetman. And they were very tight there going through the S's in the first sector, but Paulie has just been able to hang on to that position, but he's going to come under some serious heat here as we go down the back straight. And Paulie is on the alternate strategy, which is going to be interesting in this race. as we see Harry going to have the DRS open as Luke gets past Slammer in the Aston Martin a bit further up the field. We'll have a look at that in a moment because Harry is absolutely blasting through and Jetman is coming from behind as well. Paulie fights back, locks up into turn 12, and that allows Jetman through, who's going to have a go at Harry here in the Williams and just stays behind for now, but this battle is not over yet. Where's Jetman going to go? He's going to send it down the inside. And is that move going to stick? It is. Harry just couldn't get the exit out of the corner there, and Jetman now they're still going here. Harry and Paulie now wheel to wheel. Harry gets pushed out wide by Paulie, and Paulie really having a nightmare start here down in last place, but is fighting hard for position. And that battle just calms down for a moment there, but there was some good action there as Zukwazoo picks up the first penalty of the evening.
Yep, so it's really easy to get track limits penalties around here, but yeah, Paulie fighting really hard, but the gap between the top two now, well, I was going to say it was about 0.3 of a second because it was down to that at one point, but Scotty dropping back the dirty air through the S's, not helping his case, but a potential move on here for the lead heading into the next braking zone at turn 12 if he can get a good exit, but he has dropped back a little bit, so I'm inclined to believe that Parsifal's just used a little bit of battery to aid in getting a bit of a gap, as it looks like ADOG could be under some pressure here from Levo soon as they head in towards turn 12. So DRS open on the Williams, the DRS also open on the Mercedes. As will the Williams go for the move? No, he's not quite close enough. Nigel in the background though, looking to pull to the left-hand side and now down the inside of Salmons. And that should be the move done as he gets to the apex first. Clears him a bit of a love tap on the rear there from the Ferrari that he's just overtaken. But he's holding onto the position for now as there we go. There's a mistake from ADOG. That allowed Levo up the inside. But now ADOG has the inside through the triple right-hander, and he's just going to hold on. Bit of contact there, though, between the two of them. The Williams and the Mercedes coming to blow. Now Levo has the inside for the penultimate corner, but ADOG sweeps around the outside, gets forced onto the curb. Ooh. A big shove there between the two of them. Levo dives to the inside at the final corner. There's contact there between the two of them. ADOG still holding on as they now drag race up towards turn 1. There's been some rubbing as racing action, but now as they head into turn 1, surely it's decided in this heavy braking zone. The blind apex left-hander. They make contact again. ADOG forced all the way onto the curb, but he has the inside now through turn 2, but he doesn't hold on. Levo gets the move done after all the contact, all the bumping, all of the rubbing in the world here in these Formula 1 cars, but he gets it done, and that was a brilliant move and a brilliant fight-back effort from ADOG, but he just couldn't quite hold on to the place, and I don't think that this battle is done yet because I think that ADOG wants to fight it back, but Levo has a lot more pace.
What a fantastic bit of racing that was there between the two of them. ADOG unfortunately picks up a penalty very soon after that. But yeah, Levo is definitely going to be one the leaders will need to watch out for in the coming laps because he's already got up from last to 6th place. So that is going to be a real concern for Parzival and Scotty if he can keep up his current pace. But as we mentioned, the Parzival and the Scotty battle, it really looks like Scotty is in control of the race from P2 at the moment. Doesn't seem to be pushing too hard and just sitting in that DRS of Parzival pretty comfortably. So I think Scotty really, it's up to him when he wants to make the move. There's a big moment there for ADOG out of that corner, and he's lost a lot of time, and now he's going to be under a bit of pressure from Hunter, who's just a bit too far back to take advantage. And there's a yellow Slammer's gone slow as well, and now ADOG has caught right back up to the back of Slammer. So a couple moments there in the same lap in the final sector. And it's going to be interesting here coming into turn 1, but Slammer just looks like he's gotten far enough away. But ADOG is not safe from Hunter behind, who is trying to pick up the pieces from a rough start in the Ferrari after that spin into turn 1. As ADOG takes a really sharp line into turn 1 and is able to defend that for now. And everything just stays calm at this moment in the proceedings. And we'll go back up to the front now quickly and just see how Scotty's going with Parzival in front. Zukwazoo has kind of just been holding that 1.3, 1.4 second gap over the last few laps, but also some very good pace from that McLaren there. And they're starting to pull away from Luke, who's in 4th place. But then Levo up in P5. He also got past Slammer when he had that moment. So that's really positive signs for the Williams, who's up 9 places in this race already. Scotty, with the DRS open, won't be able to make an impression on Parzival through there. And he is just going to bide his time for now. Only lap 7 out of 28. He's got a lot of time to figure things out. Not a lot of pressure coming from behind, so it's really the ball in Scotty's court here when he wants to make a charge.
Yeah, and that is absolutely right. And I think that he's just preserving a lot and really making sure that it stays respectful between the two of them and that he can save in the meantime. And that just gives him a good opportunity heading into either the end of this stint if he has better tyres or the second stint, because Parsville might be lulled into a false sense of security with Scotty driving so sort of passive behind him. He might think that an attack isn't going to be sprung and then Scotty just goes for it. So there's all sorts of mind games or things that you could be doing in a situation like this when you're driving without being aggressive and without trying to overtake. And I think that that's what Scotty's doing at the moment. But just look at the time gain. He gets to 3/10 and then you head into the next S section and he's going to drop back to about 7/10 by the end of it. He does it every lap. It's the effect of the dirty air. And I think that's another reason why Scotty's probably deciding not to attack, because he is managing, but he's also realised that if he tries to push through the dirty air, it could just lead to a mistake that lulls him right back into the arms of Zukazu, and that could be a huge problem.
That's really good analysis there, Lindsay, from an experienced veteran like yourself. And as we know, Scotty has done a lot of races. He knows what he's doing. He's won a lot as well. So he's no stranger to these types of situations. And if anyone knows how to control the race in this field, it is Scotty. So that is going to be an interesting battle to watch unfold. What kind of response will Parsville have for the inevitable Scotty attack? We will find out in the coming laps. But in the meantime, A-Dog or Slammer, sorry, is holding off a big pack of cars behind him, which include A-Dog, Hunter, and Nigel, who are really wanting to make an impression. As in the meantime, Tetris and Salmons go wheel to wheel here, and Salmons just holds the lead, but Tetris now swoops back underneath Salmons, but he has the inside line going into here. Tetris tried to swoop back underneath again and get the switch back, but just didn't quite have the momentum there, and Salmons is going to hang on just for the time being, and these two having a good little battle for 10th place at the moment. Tetris down 2 places from his starting position, just hasn't quite able to make an impression a bit further up the field, but some good fighting between the Ferrari and the Haas here, as it's not quite over yet, because Tetris will have the DRS and is pushing here. Is he going to go to the inside? Yes, he is, and comfortably gets past. Does Salmons have a response? No, he's just going to let Tetris go through and live to fight another day here on lap 9.
Yep, so good battling there as A-Dog is side by side with Hunter through the S's. This is really aggressive stuff. They come to blows. Oh, no!
Oh,
That's a huge crash. And A-Dog was just let out, spit to the right because of the contact model, and just got absolutely flown into, I believe it was the Sauber on the right-hand side. Nigel getting collected in an incident again here in this race. He just cannot catch a break, but he manages to stay in a straight line in the Sauber. Hunter lives to fight another day, but what a huge crash, and really not ideal there for A-Dog. He was fighting so well, but side by side through the S's Circuit of the Americas was just never going to work, and that was really, really risky stuff here. And yeah, that was always going to be the outcome of that one.
Yeah, very ambitious racing, and unfortunately Nigel and A-Dog both have damaged front wings as a result of that fighting, and that's kind of taken them out of contention here, with A-Dog all the way down in 12th, and that's going to frustrate him a little bit. I think Hunter's gotten off reasonably scot-free. It looks like the front wing is still intact, so Hunter not out of this one yet, which is good to see. And in the meantime, Salmon's now going at it with Jetman, as Tetris is now a few tenths clear of him. So Salmon's seemingly going backwards here in the last couple of laps, as Slammer now comes into the pits, the first of the medium tyre runners to do so. And that's pretty early on lap 10. It's going to be 18 hard laps, no pun intended, on the hard tyres. And we'll see if he can perform an undercut here, as A-Dog does have to come into the pits and gets a 10-second penalty and is DNFing. So yeah, fair enough. For A-Dog, unfortunately, was really struggling. Jetman right on the back of T7s in the meantime. And we saw what happened in the S's on the last lap, and Jetman just thinks better of it and stays behind T7s for now. But these three now moving up in the field after that incident. So definitely not out of this race. Everyone's still in contention here as we enter lap 10, and Parsville still holding that lead. And it looks like Zukazu is slowly catching the front two and almost within a second as we start to get towards the end of this first stint. It's going to be interesting to see who blinks first here.
Yeah, and I think the undercut is so powerful here with the higher tyre wear. So Scotty surely would be the one who wants to come into the pit lane first and just take the lead and then have the clean air to try and waltz away with it, because I think he might just have the measure of pace over Parzival in this one. But I do just want to say, J-Man, you were waiting for a crowd. We've gotten a crowd because some people have found us. We got PS Bomber, Oscar Piastri Goat, Guga, and Aiden Azraden, and Zonix here in the chat. The army has arrived, J-Man.
Wow, that's beautiful. Great to see some cross-league support. And yeah, it's great to be back and to have some people listening to us. So hope you're enjoying the show so far. And in the meantime, here we go. Some pit stops to entertain us for the moment. Nigel and Tetris. Nigel probably going to need to get that wing changed, which will drop him down a couple of spots. Or maybe not. Maybe it'll just be... No, it is a wing change. Yep, so that's going to cost him a lot of time. Tetris out of the pits and ahead. And Slammer clearly stays ahead of them and up into P9. So some good clean air for Slammer at the moment. And is slowly gaining time on those in front. But the other drivers don't seem to be too worried about that, and they're going to be saving a bit of tyres. In the meantime, Zoukwazu's really caught up to Scotty, who's out of DRS. And something must have happened to Scotty here, because Zoukwazu absolutely flies through into P2, and that's a big surprise in this race. Scotty just seemed really under control there, and he's going to be coming back. It's not quite over yet, because Zoukwazu did not have a great exit out of turn 12, but has done all right to just hang on and just keep Scotty behind. And this is going to frustrate him a little bit, because Parzival now 1.6 seconds clear and gaining. And this is Parzival seeing this as his opportunity to really burn and potentially get clear in this race of Scotty. So, yeah, really big moment. And Zoukwazu obviously still with that end plate damage doing really well. Now Scotty is going to come into the pits, and that was the correct decision there. So Parzival is going to have to burn on this lap, and Scotty will be as well. And it'll be interesting to see whether he can overturn that gap that's just been created.
Yeah, this is now a critical outlap for Scotty, because the undercut, very powerful, but you've got to imagine that Parzival will react. In the lead, it's his fight to lose, and also Zuka with the damage could potentially change a wing, but with his pace, you'd think that he might not. But Scotty definitely in the position where he can take at least the place off of Zuka back and be in the DRS range. That's a Ferrari. I think it is... Well, it's the only Ferrari left on track. Hunter, slow off of the first corner. I think that was a spin. But you've got to imagine Scotty comes out in the lead after all the dust has settled in this one.
Yeah, it's going to be tight, but also now Scotty does have Hunter in his way after that spin into turn 1. Not the first time Hunter has spun into turn 1. He did it on lap 1, starting on the front row of the grid, which really turned things around in this race for him. So the Ferrari not having the best time out here, but he could really help out Parzival here if he's able to hold up Scotty. But going into turn 11 now, this is the best place for Scotty to pass. He's just caught up to him in time for him to absolutely slingshot through the DRS. So that is actually going to help the Aston Martin in the end. And Parzival now will certainly come into the pits, and it's going to be really interesting to see where it comes out. But Scotty has looked to have a pretty solid outlap here, as Parzival with 1.7 seconds clear of Zoukwazu, and the McLaren surely has to come in if he wants to hold the lead of this race, and does so. What about the McLaren of Zoukwazu? Does not, stays out another lap. He's happy with his tyres. So that is a big decision. He's going to go long and try and use the tyre difference later on. Luke finally into the pits as well. Has been a bit of a quiet achiever in this race so far, and is just slowly gaining up there. But Scotty now, as he rounds the final quarter, Parzival comes out of the pit box, and Scotty may have the lead of this race here. It's going to be close, but he does. Scotty clear and in the net lead of the race here. And Parzival not even close, in fact. That was almost a 3-second gain. As he's almost a 4-second gain, 2.5 seconds behind. And Parzival now has his work cut out for him. So the correct decision by Scotty there. The gap did not help Parzival, and the undercut has caught him out.
Yeah, the undercut, as I said, really powerful. I didn't think it would be 2.5 seconds in one lap powerful, but that is the tyre wear here at Cota. And I think Zoukwazu is going to be severely caught out by that, because the deficit at the end isn't as powerful as the overcut, because you've only got a couple of % difference versus a whole tyre difference for at least a lap or two. So I think that the McLaren is really going to have hindered himself, especially with the front wing damage as well. His front right will be even more worn than normal. So it's going to be really difficult here, but I just want to say hello to more people in the chat while we have a brief lull while strategy has to play out. So welcome in Lockie, Jerrybot, and as well Gordo in the chat. And Zonix wants you to know, J-Man, that he's missed you.
I miss Sonics as well. It's been a long time since I've been around, so I do love all the people around the league racing scene. It's always fun to come back, and yeah, hopefully I'll be around a little bit more.
That would be absolutely fantastic, and whenever you're around, if you give me the call, I'll probably show up. It's like the bat signal when you show up. But I think we might have some racing on our hands between Tetris and Jetman here in a moment, J-Man, because Jetman is closing up behind his teammate, and these two Hasses, they went at it earlier on in this race, and now they've closed back up together. Jetman has the DRS, as here we go, he's closing in towards turn one, as he's forced to the outside line, and never mind, no inter-team fighting there. Jetman just goes through, and Tetris didn't want to fight that at all, but Zukazu, interestingly, still not into the pit lane, and Slammer closing up to the back of Levo.
Yeah, so a few things starting to happen now in this race as we hit the halfway mark, but yeah, Tetris is never going to fight that one. One of the cleanest races I've ever raced against Tetris. Had a great championship battle against him a way back, and yeah, doing pretty well here in P8 at the moment. We'll be hoping to make his way a little bit further up the field towards the end, but in the meantime, Slammer does have DRS on Levo, but is going to be too far back. Levo picking up a 10-second penalty in the pits is really going to hurt his charge up the field, because he was looking really dangerous a few laps ago, and now it seems like it's a bit of a two-horse race. But if Parzival does have any pace in the tank, now is the time he has to use it. It's 2.4 seconds the gap. Hasn't been able to make an impression on Scotty after the pit stops, and Scotty didn't even need to make an on-track overtake, and he's in a great position. Zukwazoo continues to stay out, so he's got some fantastic tyre management going on there, but he is going to have to really charge late if he's to take a race win here. But it looks like it's Scotty's to lose at this stage, and the field is pretty well spread now. Paulie's still on those hard tyres as well, but pretty much out of this one, so that strategy unfortunately won't be quite relevant to what we're seeing up front. And then, yeah, just one driver out of this race so far, 13 still on the track. And Zukwazoo continues to lose time to Scotty, who's brought it down to about 10 seconds. And Scotty really just needs to drive pretty calm, as he has done, pretty composed all race long. And this should be his to lose in his fourth win of the season, potentially.
Yeah, so we're just over halfway in this race, and yeah, it definitely is Scotty's race to lose at this point. But then again, Parzival still, he's not letting go. I mean, the gap's sitting fairly stable for the moment, but if Scotty just over-pushes the tyre a little bit, or makes one mistake, which we know that he made in the opening stint of the race when Zuka got him, because he lost DRS and got overtaken in the matter of moments, so there had to have been a mistake lied in that somewhere. So if another mistake creeps in, this race could be far from over, but I think what Zuka now has to bank on, his hopes and prayers, never mind. I was going to say he's going to stay out until there's a safety car, if there is going to be a safety car, but he's now into the box, and only 9 seconds ahead of Scotty. Scotty's already into the final corner. Zukazu might even come out behind Luke.
Yeah, I think so. So he puts, he's putting on a new front wing as well, so that is going to really cost him time, and Zukwazoo must be pretty confident in his pace here on the last stint, because he's going to have a lot of overtaking to do and a lot of speed. He's going to come out behind Slammer as well, who is still just hanging in behind Levo there, who's pulling him along a little bit. But Slammer in provisional P4 has done pretty well here after struggling at the start of the race. So not a bad effort by any means. If we go down a little bit, Paulie chasing after Nigel here in the Kick Sauber, who has had a horror evening. Nigel and Hunter both have struggled after that contact on lap 1, which has really taken them out of the race to an extent. but Paulie just going to stick behind for now. No real tight battles going on at this stage. There was battles galore going on in the early stages, but the field has spread a little bit. And as you mentioned, Parsifal's still hanging in there, but is just going to have to find something extra in the last 10 laps here, because Scotty looks to be pretty under control. And Luke now in third place. So that Aston Martin is now a 1-3. And that'd be a great result for the team as well if it stays that way.
And it's sort of, the way that Aston Martin go about their business sort of reminds me of the way I've seen various Aston Martin teams over the years go about their business. And you can't disagree with me, J-Man. I think this is more than a fair comparison. Back when you were the Aston TP and a driver, what were you always looking for? You're looking for consistency, not necessarily the quickest drivers. And I mean, I don't think Scotty on raw pace is the quickest driver, but he knows how to control a race and he's consistent. Luke seems to be doing that in this race as well, so you've got to say it's a pretty balanced lineup.
Yeah, it's a very strong lineup, and yeah, just keep yourself out of trouble, and the points are going to add up, because other drivers, they're gonna make mistakes, they're gonna get in trouble. So if you just keep banging in those consistent results at the end of the day, it's gonna fall in your favour, and that's really what Scotty's done to a T. Really good, is a really good driver to race against as well. Really fair, and he loves his work. So Scotty doing well, but Parsifal has gained a bit of time there, and within that 2-second gap. So is Parsifal starting to make his move on this race? He's really pushing hard here to try and catch the Aston Martin, and he just needs to get inside that magic 1-second gap to really give himself an opportunity. But Scotty, as you can see in the later part of the lap, maybe a bit of a difference in downforce as Scotty's able to increase his gap back up through these corners. But another thing we haven't spoken about yet is everyone's favourite track limits warnings, which could definitely come into play later on if the gaps kind of stay where they are. And quite a few drivers do have penalties. In fact, I will have a look at that. Zukwazoo, Jetman, Salmons, Nigel, and Harry. So it's definitely something that's going to be playing on the drivers' minds. And that's another thing about consistency as well. Not just in staying in the race, but also keeping the car inside the track, because that does make a huge difference at the end of the race.
Yeah, it really does. And yeah, I mean, so many penalties to go around this grid at the moment. So that could definitely change the final order with 10 laps to go. And there's surely more penalties to be handed out. And that's something that we haven't particularly considered here with this lead fight, because Scotty or Parsifal could be close to a track limits penalty. It's so easy to do here. And I think that even in Tier 1 last night, most of the grid had track limits penalties. So definitely a possibility. But Parsifal, I mean, even when he drops back in that last sector, he's closing in. He's chipping away at it bit by bit. He's now 1.8 seconds away, or though he's just dropped a bit on the exit. So he's getting ever so closer to Scotty and just being consistent. And you've just got to hope that if he does catch and he does get inside that DRS, that he hasn't burnt his tyres too much to get the overtake done in the process, because catching is one thing, passing is another, and I do not want to see the reality of that, because I think we could see a great battle for the lead here if there's a mistake made, or if Parsifal can continue to chip away at Scotty here for the race lead. As well, Slammer and Levo, I mean, I know that gap stayed stagnant at the moment, but Levo with a 10-second time penalty, just running his own race, he's going to drop back a few places. The Ferrari swap places, not battling though. Salmons just gets out of the way. But I think Slammer could pick up a nice little result here for himself. A top 4, not bad for a driver who was telling me, I think about 5 minutes before the race starts, that he's done a single lap of practice.
Yeah, very good from Slammer here, and just needs to really stay patient, because there's drivers with penalties all around him. So he can just focus on his own race. He should be able to get a pretty good result. And as you mentioned, the Ferrari swapping places, Hunter really has, this is his last opportunity to make his way up the field. Decently new hard tyres in P9, and we know that he's got pace. It's just the consistency that's the issue here. He's had a couple incidents throughout the race so far, and I do wonder if that turn 1 incident will get looked at, because it did impact Nigel quite severely, or whether it will just be considered a racing incident because it was of his own accord. And Zukwazoo picking up yet another penalty down in P6 there. So really has been nullified, the McLaren here, unfortunately, and that alternate strategy of going longer doesn't appear to be paying its dividends so far. And Parzival always catching up on the back straight and then getting into the final sector. Seems to lose quite a bit of time to Scotty, who appears to have the advantage in the final sector, but not the case this time, actually, as Parzival is maintaining a 1.8 second gap. So maybe just a little bit of a pace advantage here. I'm not sure. It's a minimal tyre age difference. But Scotty, is he just managing? Is Parzival pushing hard? Or is this a genuine pace difference here, as Parzival has really seemed to gain on this lap? And now, all of a sudden, 1.5 seconds in this race starts to spice up a little bit if he can get within that DRS range. He's got 8 laps to figure it out. And then we will have a great fight to the end. But other than that, Luke, very solid in P3 at the moment. Slammer is the only realistic challenge to that Aston Martin at the moment, but he's got to get past Levo to do that, and also on far older hard tyres. So I think that podium is looking very comfortable at the moment, unless we see some late action. And Parzival now has just really got to focus on his driving here, keep it inside the track, and just find every 10th he can.
Yeah, and I think Parzival's problem at the moment, I think he tried to use battery in that final sector to mitigate the losses that he's been having, but now heading onto the straight, he has significantly less battery than Scotty to use. So as much as he's chipping away at it, he's also burning his battery, which just means Scotty pulls away in different parts of the racetrack, and you can see that at the end of the straight. Parzival, I mean, had a bit of overspeed. I think that Scotty turned off the battery earlier, but when you get to the end of the race, that's going to make a huge difference. You need battery, and you can get it up quickly, but if you're struggling to then stay with Scotty because you push so hard to get behind, then it is a bit harder to get the battery because you need to stay inside the DRS. But 1.6 seconds now, that gap, 1.5, so it is closing in, and I think in the next 8 laps, we will see Parzival back inside that DRS range, and a fight for the win will ensue, but we've still got a few more laps before that happens, I think, or a mistake from Scotty.
Yeah, well, if Parzival does continue to gain, that is going to be playing on Scotty's mind. He will be able to see him in that rearview mirror, gaining ever so slowly, and the time difference as well. So even if he is pushing really hard, if he's really just putting that pressure on Scotty by being just a little bit closer, that is going to play on Scotty's mind a little bit more, and Parzival could find an opportunity. All it takes is a couple bad corners on this track to lose a lot of time. So Scotty has really just got to drive a perfect race, which he almost has been flawless so far. And Parzival needs to be perfect as well at the end of the day, because that's going to be what the difference is between these two. And this is a very important last 7 laps in terms of the championship and the points. So Parzival will be desperate. And you can see how hard both of these drivers have fought. It's been a really good battle without actual much on-track action between the two of them. Just watching that time gap, just seeing the different strategies and the pace where it's being used throughout different parts of the lap. It's really interesting to watch. And Parzival just trying a few different things, seeing what's going to work. In the meantime, we do see an overtake as Slammer loses that position to Zuquizhu. Not too much of a surprise there with Zuquizhu's 6 laps fresher tyres. But also with the penalties, Slammer will be hoping to stay within 6 seconds of the McLaren and a little bit more on the back straight, as well as Hunter now makes another move on Tetris up into P8. Still trying to pick up the scraps from his rough start. So can Hunter continue to move up those places as Parzival up to 1.3? So it is slowly moving. It's slowly coming down, Lindsay.
Yeah, it really is. And this is a proper grind. This is really just chipping away at it lap after lap. And that is the hardest mental part of driving in a situation like this. You've got to put in the laps every single lap. No mistakes, faster than the car in front of you. That's what Parzival's doing. And it really does chip away at you. Mistakes can creep in, but he's really managing himself well here. 1.2 seconds away, so he's almost inside that DRS and dirty air sort of window. So the battle could be on, but it also could be affected once he does end up in that turbulent air. But we'll only find out soon enough. 1.3 seconds heading onto the straight. It is really heating up. This could get quite interesting very, very soon. So let's just see. Onto the straight. Let's go on board with Scotty. I did a whole on-board lap with Parzival earlier on, about 2 laps ago. I want to see Scotty's final sector here. I want to see how he's driving, if he's managing, if he's pushing. A little bit of a lock-up on the way into 12, but very calm-mannered on the steering, very smooth, protecting the tyres. Low gears, though, so that could affect his tyre wear a little bit as he heads through this slow speed section, and Parzival closing in there through that long left-hander, but then through the exit he loses, so it's the slow in, fast out that Scotty's really prioritising. He just wants his exit speed. He wants a manageable race, and that's what he's giving himself at the moment, but 1.1 seconds. Now that gap, so slower through Parzival, slower than Parzival, sorry, through that last sector, but it's just really, really interesting to see the difference in driving style. As actually, I think Parzival made a mistake because he's just lost about 3/10, which in the grand scheme of this little battle, 3/10 is about 3 laps.
Yeah, it was a great corner from Scotty, not so great from Parzival, and that's the difference here. Parzival's had a couple of bad corners. All of a sudden, work that's taken laps to do has been undone straight away. So that's really what we're talking about. Just little moments can really change the whole scope of this battle. And Parzival's still having to work hard. It's a real interesting watch here. To see what Parzival, I think everyone's just willing for Parzival to get inside that 1 second gap because he's so close. He can almost touch it, that 1 second DRS gap. And this is a race win on the line here. So Parzival still trying a few different things and seeing what he can throw at Scotty to really just throw him off a little bit, throw him off his game slightly. It's all mental at the moment between these two until Parzival can get within striking distance. But it's this final sector that's really been the difference between the two of them so far. Scotty has just been absolutely flawless through this final part of the track here, just getting his line right pretty much every lap. And as we lapped 23 out of 28 now, Scotty just hanging on, and now tyres are really going to start to play a role here. The tyres are going to be dying out. Parzival pushing hard pretty much every lap to get close to Scotty, and it's really going to become an issue shortly if he can't make an impression on him. There's now the gap 1.7, so pretty much stayed the same on that lap, but Scotty did have a really good lap on the previous one, so that is pretty much the difference between the two of them at the moment, as Harry comes out of the pits on some new soft tyres, just wants to have a joyride to finish off the afternoon or the evening.
Yeah, and maybe go for a fastest lap just for some pride as well, although it'd be hard pressed to get a fastest lap with some of the laps that we've seen knocked into this race. Zuka Zoo actually getting quite close behind Levo at the moment. There's a tyre discrepancy that is quite significant in this little battle. We saw Zuka get past Slammer earlier on in this race, as now I think we're going to see another opportunity here for Zuka to make an overtake as he heads in towards turn number 11, and he's going to show the nose on the inside, try and force a mistake out of Levo, as now they head in towards the straight and towards the DRS zone. So this could be really, really good here from Zuka to get this place, because as it stands, as he sweeps ahead, it's 6 seconds versus 10 seconds. Never mind, I thought Levo had less of a penalty. So either way, Zuka was going to be ahead, but still, the on-track position is nice, and only 1.8 seconds up the road to Luke. I don't think he could clear the penalty gap, but maybe for a bit of pride, he could go and get P3 on the track.
Yeah, certainly for Zuguzu, and it's what could have been for the McLaren had he stayed pennantyless this afternoon. And just watching Scotty, it's just so metronomic and consistent, the driving style. It's really good to watch, and you can see just the managing and then able to really blast out of the exit of the corners is what's getting him away from Parzival, but still some really good raw pace as Parzival runs deep into turn one, and that is really going to hurt his challenge. And that has cost him about a second there because he was closing in again, and that's just what we're talking about, a frustrating Parzival who just can't quite get close enough, and then that causes that moment, and then that moment, which is a 3-second penalty, and that is just really... That's all caused by Scotty's driving, and that is fantastic. It's just he's been able to control this back half of the race so well, and pretty much that moment there has guaranteed the win for the Aston Martin there. And Parzival, you can't really blame him. He's been fantastic all race long, but yeah, in his efforts to catch up, just ends up leaving the track there.
Yeah, and that was just one mistake led to the next that led to the next, and yeah, this is not Not ideal for Parzival, but that's what I was saying. It's such a tough mental game when you're trying to chase down someone like Scotty, who's basically just doing the same lap time over and over and over again, like a copy and paste on a Word document. And it's like, yeah, I mean, how do you stay with that? You've got to put in the laps of your life to even get close, and then you make one mistake and it's all undone, and then that's what we saw at turn 1, and then the track limits penalty. I mean, it truly is the nail in the coffin. It is absolutely robotic from Scotty, and I am just as impressed as you with that driving. J-Man, when push comes to shove, Scotty just has such a cool head.
Yep, 100%. And now Scotty can really just cruise this one home. And yeah, really good effort as Zukwazoo now inside the DRS of Luke here. So this will be the main battle we can have a look at for the end of the race, as Scotty pretty much has this one wrapped up with just over 2 laps to go. Lap 26 out of 28, as Jetman now comes into the pits, which is an interesting decision, because that's going to cost him a few places there, unless he had damage of some sort. But yeah, the Haas now dropping it down the field a little bit. And Zukwazoo now closing in on Luke to get the P3 on the road. Would make Zukwazoo feel a little bit better. The strategy hasn't worked out for the McLaren today, but he definitely had the pace to be with the leaders. Who knows what could have been if he didn't have that front wing damage to start off the race. But DRS open now, flying down towards turn 12, and Luke doesn't defend that one too hard. Doesn't want to risk that podium, and Zukwazoo now into 3rd place, and has got a couple laps to put on 6 seconds gap, which, you know, anything could happen in racing, but I think Luke should be able to stay within if he keeps it calm and under control for the last couple laps here. And yeah, so Scotty still holding that gap, Parzival, and there's a yellow flag. What's happened towards the back of the field here? It looks someone's going slow. Is it Slammer, is it?
No, I think it was the soft tyre runner of Harry just at the back, because he was in basically the same place as Slammer on the track, and Slammer seemed to be going normally, and he had a bit of a slow exit, so I think it might have just been him recovering from a moment. I could be wrong, though. But, yeah, for Zuka, I think it's a bit of a, as you said, a bit of a what could have been here tonight. And I'm really of the impression that even with the damage, had he come in on the same lap as Scotty for the undercut and not repaired his front wing and just tried to run the race, he had the same pace as them. He could have been a big factor in sticking with Scotty, and then with battling as well, Parzival would have had a better opportunity to get into the thick of it as well. We could have had a 3-way fight for the lead, but I think the Zuka would have been a huge threat had he copied Scotty's strategy and not changed his wing. So, yeah, very much a story of what could have been here on the penultimate lap of this race. But regardless, he's driven a fantastic race, and he can't be, well, I mean, he can be disappointed, but he can't be completely gutted by this one, because to get P3 on the road is still not a bad effort at all.
Yeah, 100%. And it's been pretty good driving from all the leaders tonight. Very, very consistent from everyone, which has been the most impressive out of all. And just a little thing that we could be paying attention to at the end of the race. Levo has a 7-second gap to Slammer, which is quite a long way. Slammer's 17-lap-old hard tyres maybe starting to fail him a little bit. So Levo right in the mix here to get a P5 finish on the road, which would be a great result coming from dead last on the grid to start the race. So that's something he'll be pushing for. It is the final lap of the race. 3 seconds is a big ask, so we'll see if he can get the job done. But now Zukwazoo defending from Luke, and is going to allow him to pass through on the outside in the end. And the Aston Martin can take P3 on the road. I think that might just be a friendly thing there from Zukwazoo to allow him to take P3 there.
Yeah, I think so. Just some respectful driving. That, or he wants to re-overtake him again. We'll see in due time. But yeah, here on the final lap, this is the only on-track action going on at the moment. Actually, Salmons and Tetris, but we're going to stick with this little battle here, because this is an on-track battle for a podium place. So if it goes wrong, it could go wrong in a big way. But yeah, a big hats off to Zuka again, and as Jetman steals the fastest lap of the race on soft tyres. But yeah, I want to give a huge shout out to Parzival in this one, because, I mean, as much as he picked up the 3-second penalty, we already did discuss this point, it's a very respectable effort to try and chase down Scotty so consistently. And even now, since his penalty, he's been sitting there doing consistent laps, driving very calm and cool-headed despite picking up a 3-second penalty just to come home in the P2. But in the end, here in this final sector, the eyes will turn to Scotty in the green Aston Martin. This has been a beautiful drive, consistent laps, just absolutely mental torture for the cars behind him. And Scotty, as he rounds out of the final corner, shows us what he's made of once again here in Tier 2 of AUSF1. And he crosses the line to win the Grand Prix. And that was a really, really good effort from Scotty as he swerves across the line. Consistent driving, great pace as well. And that is a win well deserved.
Yep, that's my kind of drive right there from Scotty. That is absolutely beautiful to watch. It's great effort, and Slammer does get just in front of Levo. 1 second was the difference there. So Levo really did stretch that one out. But yeah, Scotty with a fantastic drive and just a great result for Aston Martin as well. A 1-3 finish. And Scotty will be very happy with that result. His 4th win of the season, just further proving why he is in the lead of this championship and has done a fantastic job as the final drivers are coming across the line now. But yeah, there's a couple drivers that will be ruining this race tonight. Hunter, Nigel had that incident on lap 1 with Hunter going for the lead into turn 1 there, just having that big spin there. And that really did hurt at the end of the day. But that's a what if. Scotty was the man who got the job done, and now he's extended his championship lead. And what a great effort it was from Parzival, but just not quite enough. He threw everything at him, but yeah, it's Scotty's day.
Yep, that was absolutely clinical, textbook performance there from Scotty, and he's got to be proud of that one. But yeah, that was a great drive from all involved. So your final finishing order is, well, if I can get rid of the communicating online service, there we go. Scotty, Parzival, Luke, Slammer, Levo, Hunter rounds out the top 6. Then you have Tetris, Salmons, Nigel, Jetman, F1 Original, Paulie, Zukazu, Harry, and A-Dog with the DNF in that one after the pit and quit we saw after his accident through the S's. But, J-Man, any final thoughts on that race?
Yeah, I thought it was a real interesting one. It wasn't quite a traditional league race. It was actually really good. Really interesting to watch in terms of the strategy, and that front 2 battle was really interesting. We didn't see any on track stuff between the two of them, but yeah, just the grind was really enjoyable to watch. And Scotty would have loved that win, I think, and yeah, he deserves his plaudits.
Yeah, and I was really impressed. And I mean, you can really see the difference between the two drives. A 37.2 from Scotty, only 0.2 slower than Parzival's fastest lap. And I mean, that's the difference right there, because Parzival was having to push so much harder, and Scotty just was a bit more consistent, and very similar pace drivers, and they end up just a couple of tenths apart in the fastest lap. And that is probably the difference between being the chasing car and the car that's controlling the race.
Yep, and also Zukazu did finish 4th there. That was one of the early leave DNF glitch thing.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really good race, and I think that'll be all from us here tonight, J-Man. Do you have
All right, no worries.
any final things to say, or did you just about cover it?
I think it was good to be back.
Good
and I can't wait for the next one when you're going to say it's been forever since we last commentated together.
Wait, we might not be done. I didn't realize we were going to have interviews. I'm going to be honest, J-Man.
Oh, nice. Let's have some interviews.
Yeah, let's get it. Let's have some interviews. Yeah, Ads has invited the drivers to the commentary box. We'll see if they get in here. So never mind. Our job isn't quite finished. We're not off the clock yet, J-Man.
Damn it.
Yeah, damn. With our $0 an hour clock on and clock off. No.
Yep.
I'm keen to have some interviews if they get in here. So 3rd position was an Aston, so we'll get that up in the showroom. But in the meantime, hopefully drivers show up. I think we'll give it about 2 minutes for them to get in here. Otherwise, we'll just wrap it up. But Yeah, I mean, that was yeah, as you said, J-Man, I mean, it's one of those weird ones where you wouldn't think that was a good race by the gaps at the end. But I think that that ever looming sort of closing gap between Parzival and Scotty just meant I was kind of sitting there going, oh, will he get there? Will he get there? And I mean, he didn't quite get there in the end, but that was quite entertaining in a very big strategy race.
Yep. Yeah, it was. It was great to watch. I'm not sure. I think we've covered this pretty well, but I'm looking forward to speaking to Scotty about it and especially seeing Parzival and Scotty's perspectives on the race, whether they thought it was a little bit different, whether Scotty just had it under control the whole time, maybe he was just teasing Parzival a little bit. Yeah. So yeah, as we have Scotty in now, hopefully we can get the other two.
We'll get underway with Scotty though, and J-Man, you can kick off the interviews because, well, you're a lot better at interviews than I am.
That's very high praise. I think you're just trying to palm off some responsibility there.
No, I just really suck at interviews.
Scotty, welcome and congrats on the win. That was just a real grind tonight, real consistent drive, and a great battle on track between yourself and Parzival, but kind of more in terms of the strategy rather than actual fighting. So just take us through that race from your perspective.
Cheers, boys. I was sort of quietly confident coming in tonight because I'd done Cota in a league race a couple of weeks ago along with Parzival. So we sort of had a bit of practice in there coming into tonight, and sort of surprised that I got I qualified sort of as high as what I did. Obviously, fantastic for Parzival to get pole, and then got the start that sort of we both wanted because we were both in the VC together, and pretty much sort of worked together in that first stint to just get away from the field. Obviously, Zuka was catching us, but just the undercut wasn't even a planned undercut. It was just that those mediums completely died off on me because I was going to try and box lap 12, try and reach lap 12, same as Parzival. But yeah, Tyres did not like it with the extra wear. So I thought, all right, come in, undercut, push, see if I get Parzival. Completely surprised about the undercut. Wasn't expecting a 3-second gap coming out of turn one there, but obviously you got lucky with Hunter's DRS down the back straight, which helped. And then those hards felt nice all stint long. Just trying to keep Pars out of me. 1 second DRS. He got close a couple of times, but I knew that he struggled through turn one, just going a little bit deep and with him not running ABS, obviously that was of course going to be a little bit tricky for him trying not to lock up. But I think if there was a battle, being Parzival have I think the greatest respect for each other, so it would have been a clean battle regardless. But just with the Oz this season, I'm in some sort of special form and just keep being in the right place at the right time. So we'll chalk up another victory. But I think. Yeah, very, very nice race for myself and sort of making up from the disaster that was Mexico a couple of weeks ago. So,
well, that was going to be my next question. 4th win of the season. You're kind of making a habit of it at the moment. And how are you feeling in terms of the upcoming races? And now you've got a nice little gap to the rest of the field on that leaderboard.
I must admit, I'm not used to these lofty heights. If I don't have too many championships to my name, and if I do, I only get like one win in them. So I'm actually surprised with sort of how well the season's gone. Obviously, pretty much 50% through the calendar now. So the 3 Middle East races, so I'm not too bad at Abu Dhabi. Jeddah, bit of a struggle for myself, and then Bahrain will be interesting as well. I think the pressure's got to be to try and not move me up with how consistent I've been. So we'll see. If I stay in tier 2, we'll do it. If I get moved up to tier 1, we'll see. But looking forward to the next couple of races anyway. But shout out to the boys. Luke coming in. I think this is 3rd podium in a row since joining full time for Aston. So he's been fantastic as a teammate. So Aston looking good for the constructors. So hopefully just keeping this momentum going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a very well controlled race from yourself. I'll hand it over to Lindsay for any final thoughts.
I mean, I just want to say congrats on the win, and I think you drove a brilliant race. I don't know if you watched the stream back at all, but J-Man and I went on about it. I mean, I was just really impressed with how sort of controlled and measured and almost like it was almost like scientific from you. It was just very calculated. So I thought that was really impressive.
Nah, cheers. I think that's sort of what I focus on. It's sort of never usually been raw pace for me. It's always just been consistency. And just in that second stint with Jesse behind, I was just managing battery. Like every time down those straights, I was hitting a certain percentage and then stopping and then going into none in particular corners every single lap. So I just structured my lap as is and then just keeping an eye on the gap. So that's mainly what I focus on is just the consistency, and obviously it's helped me a lot this season. So we'll see if we can keep it going.
Yeah, so good stuff from you there. And we do have now Parzival in the commentary box here for his interview. So we'll now move on to the V-Carb driver. But congrats, Scotty. And now we'll unconventionally go to the P2 car second instead of going from P2 to P1. But yeah, congrats on the P2 there, Parzival. I mean, you drove an absolutely great race. You were really consistent as well. But at the end of the day, the undercut proved to be the difference. Scotty was just able to hold you off. But just give me a little bit of an idea into your thought process there, because I thought that that position that Scotty sort of had you in is one of the toughest positions you can be in mentally as a driver. So just walk me through that.
Yeah, cheers, boys. A shout out to Scotty, another great win. Yeah, the undercut I didn't think was going to be that powerful, so it must have had a wicked outlap. So good on him. Um, but yeah, the second stint was just trying to etch that little bit closer and closer. Um, as we said, it was just under 3 seconds when I came out of the pit lane, so I had a little bit of work to do. So just tried to chip away out at each lap and was 8 turn 1, just not confident at turn 1 just yet. So unfortunately that was went a bit wide in third or fourth last lap, I think it was, and just unsettled myself going through the S's and just went a little bit too deep and over the track and got 3. So unfortunate there, but um, yeah, if I could just get closer and closer to the end, I was happy. So yeah, reduce the gap. So all I could do.
Yeah, well, a great race from you. And then just one more thing. We heard Scotty talk about sort of that next Middle Eastern stretch of tracks. How do you feel about that sort of next stretch?
Yeah, Abu Dhabi, I've always been pretty good at Abu Dhabi. Jeddah, I like my Jeddah as well, and Bahrain I absolutely hate. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So let's just see whether I can minimise the damage in Bahrain and get a couple of good results beforehand.
And then, J-Man, any more questions for Parzival?
Yeah, just a quick one. Obviously, great job tonight. It was very entertaining to watch the battle between yourself and Scotty unfold, even though there wasn't too many fireworks in terms of battling. But that is your third, second place finish for the season, and your pace tonight has really got to give you some encouragement that you're going to be right up there. So do you feel like you can really make that next step in the next couple of races?
Yeah, I really hope so. Second's getting a bit old. I did really well in qualifying, which was good, set me up well, but I just the undercut was the big difference maker, and then obviously my 3 second pen at the end. But you kind of I think to myself, if roles were reversed and I actually was in the lead, would I have still got the pen? Because I wouldn't have been pushing so hard in and amongst. I would have been more defensive. But it it is what it is. It's racing. So shout out to Scotty. Great start to the season, and I'm just trying to stick with.
Yeah, 100%. And that was a fantastic race to watch there. Scotty on top, Parzival in second, Lindsay. And I believe that's all we have for this evening.
Yeah, that is all we have this evening. So that is going to be all here for the AUSF1 Tier 2 racing action here tonight. And it was an absolutely great race. And yeah, it was really, really competitive between those top two. A great race from the both of them. And yeah, that was a great broadcast and a great race overall. It was good to have you alongside me again, J-Man.
Yeah, it was. It was great to be back in the comms box. It was good fun.
Yep, no worries. It was great to have you. So that'll be all here tonight. So thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you all potentially again this season. Thank you for watching, and good night.